This Dharma talk I'm going to give tonight isn't really for people in the room. Hopefully you'll find it beneficial, but you're not, to be honest, the target audience. This talk's primarily intended for people who aren't in the room, for people who might listen to the recording of this or watch the recording of this later on, the ones who might have visited once and never come back again, or maybe thought about visiting but haven't got around to it, the folks who might be struggling with some issues in their lives and trying to figure out if the Buddha Dharma could be beneficial to them. It's also going to be intentionally a little shorter than my usual Dharma talks typically are, just so hopefully, primarily so the people who need to hear it won't get bored and click away to something else maybe before we get to the end. And also it'll give us some time maybe to talk about it at the end tonight. I actually want to start with a short reading. The main inspiration for this talk came from this reading. The author, Master Sheng Yen, was the founder of the Dharma drum lineage, which is part of the Chan tradition. He's from Taiwan. He was from Taiwan, so it started in Taiwan and expanded to the West, United States especially. A few years ago, I spent a few days at their main U.S. retreat center that's up in rural New York. That was just shortly before I discovered Tego and started really studying Korean Buddhism. The Chan tradition, just to remind everybody, the Chan tradition is the meditation-focused tradition of Buddhism that really developed in China and then spread to Japan as Zen, and to Korea as San, and to Vietnam as Tien. So this is kind of the lineage that this practice center is in. The selection I'm reading is from, he wrote a bunch of books, but this is from this book. This is one of his main books, Dharma Drum, The Life and Heart of Chan Practice. So this is what the master wrote. Imagine two people are coming to visit you. One lives 100 miles away and the other 1 mile away. The one who lives a mile away may be the one to come late, since living so close makes him complacent. Distance is not absolute. This applies to cultivation as well. A person may generate the mind for practice late in life, but attain Buddhahood sooner than a person who started practicing early on. Those who have faith, confidence, and a willingness to truly practice are closest to Buddhahood. There's a meme I've seen going around a lot online. I've seen a number of versions of it lately. It kind of has to do with our current national political situation, and it's always some variation on the best time to understand what's going on was some number of years ago. The second best time is now. I've seen a lot of versions of that. I'm guessing the inspiration for that, when I started kind of looking into this, I think the inspiration for it, it's kind of a variation on a relatively famous quote about trees, about planting trees. Where I'm going about planting trees, right? And again, I've seen lots of versions of this as well, that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago or 25 years ago or 30 years ago, and the second best time is now. This is one of those allegedly ancient Chinese sayings that nobody can figure out where it came from earlier than about the 1960s here in America. The Cleveland Plain Dealer, apparently, of all places, is the oldest source anybody has found this in, was in the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Not in any way an ancient Chinese publication. I think you could take that rhetoric, you could take that idea, and you could apply it to discovering Buddhism, to studying the Dharma. The best time to have started was years ago, but the second best time is today. So I'm just going to be really transparent. I'm going to be really upfront about the takeaway message here. It's never too late to start studying Buddhism, to start studying the Buddha Dharma. If somebody tells themselves, "Oh, I'm too old, I'm too set in my ways, there isn't time left to really benefit from all that," that's just an excuse. Those are excuses. That's just roadblocks you're throwing up in your own way. And there's nothing in the tradition that agrees with any of that. So let me just try to refute that. If we trust the traditional accounts, there are lots of examples of converts who were older when they began to study and practice. Even if you look at the Buddha's original followers, there are a number of examples of that. The order of female monastics, the bhikkhunis, that was founded by the Buddha's stepmother, Mahaprajapati, who had to be at least in her 50s by that point. Mahakashyapa, one of the Buddha's most respected monastic followers, was described in the traditional stories as a mature Brahmin when he became a follower of the Buddha. And if you look at art, if you look at Buddhist art, he's usually portrayed as a lot older than the Buddha, as a man with bushy white, wrinkled face and bushy white eyebrows is usually the way Mahakashyapa is painted in that kind of art. Similarly, there's a wealthy lay follower of the Buddha, Anathapindika. His name comes up in a lot of suttas because often at the beginning of the sutta, when it says where it happened, it'll say this happened in Anathapindika's park, because he was a rich businessman who was a patron of the order, who helped support the Buddhist community. He was already an elderly man when he took took refuge and precepts to become a lay follower of the Buddha. There's another example of this in the sutta that tells the story of the Buddha's death, the Mahaprajaparamita Sutta. That was the wrong name. I just blocked on the name. I just totally lost the name of it. It doesn't matter. I totally lost the name of that sutta. But it tells a story in the account of the Buddha's death. The last convert, the Buddha's last convert, was, in those stories, it's said to be a man named Subhata the Wanderer, he was an old man. He was an elderly man when he became the Buddha's last convert. So, having some years of experience in life, having some gray hairs and some stiff joints or whatever, that's no barrier to study and practice in the tradition. There's nothing there that prevents it. That being said, obviously it's true. Those of us who are converts, who didn't grow up in a Buddhist culture, in a culture that's kind of suffused with Buddhism, unquestionably we have a lot of catching up to do. We have stuff that we've got to kind of make an effort to learn about, and experiences that we need to seek out kind of intentionally, that somebody who grew up in a Buddhist environment would be exposed to just kind of in the regular course of their lives. They wouldn't have to make an effort to seek those things out. That would just, things that would happen around them, they would sort of happen naturally. On the other hand, someone growing up in a culture like that might very well take those things for granted, right? Might not think of them all that much, meaning maybe they don't take them very seriously. Maybe they don't really appreciate their value. Maybe that's the kind of person that Master Sheng Yen had in mind, who lives a mile away but still shows up late. They have all these advantages, but they don't really take advantage of them. There's an old saying that you've probably heard: "There's no zealot like a convert," right? But part of the reason for that, I'm sure, is that the convert may see the value in aspects of the tradition that the person who was born into that tradition they don't even recognize. They don't even realize they're there, the value that they have. Those of us who've already stepped onto the Buddhist path, and I guess I am talking to the people in the room, it's never too late for us to go deeper, right? It's never too late for us to to deepen our commitment, to deepen our practice, to meditate more, to attend services more regular, to enrich our spiritual life with new practices. Mahaparinibbana Sutta. I knew it would pop into my head at the worst possible time. I hate that. 59-year-old brain. Speaking of old gray hair, attend services more regularly, enrich our spiritual life with practices, that we don't do now, to seek out new teachings, to seek out wider experiences, right? It's never too late to do that either, to go further, to go deeper. Something else that somebody out there might be thinking about or worried about, it's also true that what we've done in life so far is irrelevant. From a Buddhist perspective, no one is irredeemable. Nobody has lived a life that's so sinful, whatever that means, that they're disqualified from the path. We all have regrets. We've all made bad choices. We've all let ourselves down in some way. That's no reason to stay away. There's no barrier there. Quite the opposite. The greater the illness, the greater the need for medicine, and the greater the benefit the medicine will have. And the Buddha is the great physician. That's one of the titles that the Buddha has, the great physician. Again, if you look at the stories of the early Buddhist community, there are lots of accounts of redemption, right? Of people who followed the Buddha's path, joined the Buddha's community in order to find themselves, to rediscover their humanity, to rediscover their morality in some cases. So if there's anybody who thinks they have too much negative karma to practice Buddhism, you've really misunderstood what the Buddha taught. The Buddha can't save you. The Buddha can't save anybody. That's not how Buddhism works. But what the Buddha can do is show you a path through which you can save yourself. That's how Buddhism works. I think we also have to recognize there's a corollary to this claim that I'm making, that it's never too late to start studying the Dharma, which is this. It's always almost too late to start studying the Dharma. One of the basic fundamental teachings of the Buddha is that life is characterized by impermanence. Everything changes, everything ends. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is enduring. So the lesson of impermanence should make it clear to us that starting today is better than waiting until tomorrow, because we may not have tomorrow. As Chan Master Huangbo Xian wrote, throughout this life, we can never be certain of living long enough to take another breath. We can't afford to think, I'll visit the Zen Center next week, next month, next year. I'll start meditating later. I'll do that retreat some other time. I'll read that book next year. It can wait. There's always time. Well, no, there isn't. There isn't always time. That's a fundamental teaching of the Buddha Dharma. We cannot count on another year, another month, another day, even another second. So it's never too late until it is too late. And that can happen without any warning. So, to the people who are in the room, I'm so very glad you're here. I'm happy that you made the choice to come the first time and the second time, and to stick with it or after that. I'm glad you took advantage of the opportunity when it arose. I take no credit for that at all. None. Not my doing. My karma led me to this moment. Your karma led you to this place. That was not me. What we do here together is the Dharmakaya manifesting itself. It's that embryo of Buddhahood that we all possess, developing in the world. That's what's important. And to the people who aren't in the room, I look at the camera on purpose. The people who aren't in the room, your life is precious. Your time is precious. Every moment is an opportunity. The path the Buddha walked is laid out before you. This moment is the optimal moment to take a first step. This place is open to you. This community will greet you as a fellow traveler on the path and as a Buddha to be, because we are all Buddhas to be. Do not waste your life by night or day. Sangbal Hashipshio, may you in all beings manifest enlightenment.